Today I'm going to be reviewing Bright Memory Infinite. It was an early access game and released on iOS and Android, eventually ported over to Windows, and finally over to the Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5, which is when I finally got a chance to check it out. I'll be perfectly clear, I did receive this game as a review copy, so please keep that in mind as you listen to my opinions of the game. As I say in all these reviews, I think I'm a pretty straight shooter, but just want to be perfectly clear. So, Bright Memory Infinite is a very interesting concept of a game, and the best way I can honestly describe it is a tech demo plus. This game has so many cool, fundamental ideas to it that just only begin to be developed when the game ends. And I'm sad because from everything I have seen, this was going to be this episodic game, and then it was kind of converted over into this re-release known as Bright Memory Infinite, which included some of the gameplay and some more introductions. I think that's it for this game. If there is more coming, I sure hope so, because I really liked what I saw at the end. There's a lot of quirky things that happen in this game. I had a lot of weird bugs. My gun, for example, would just start shooting on its own. Some of the inputs were delayed. There's some weird QuickTime events at the beginning, and I did properly press the buttons, but the game felt that I didn't. Sometimes enemies clip through you at close range, which is kind of a hindrance since a lot of this game relies on sword combat. And also enemies just take the terrain as a suggestion. I can't tell you the number of times I got shot through grass or walls or fences. I couldn't figure out where I was getting hit from, and I was like, oh, there's an enemy like on the other side of this building, but apparently they just, they can shoot through the wall. You can't, but they can. It's a little frustrating. And I know if it sounds like I'm kind of dumping on the game, I mean, these are things that need to be fixed. There's just no doubt about it. And considering the history of this game, that it's been around since, according to Wikipedia at least, November of 2019 is when we first got the first port of this on iOS. Some of these bugs seem somewhat inexcusable. There's some other things about the game you need to know, like the incredibly short time to beat it. I'm talking less than 2 hours. That was a surprise to me. I kind of thought there would be more just when things started to seem like they were getting fun and the story was starting to make a lot of sense and it was starting to kind of ramp up to something cool. The credits rolled. That was the end of the game. I was a little disappointed by that. That's why I say, to me, it felt like a tech demo plus. Now, there's some cool things in this game. You have the ability to do melee combat with this energy sword, which reminds me a lot of, Metal Gear Solid Revengeance in a sense, or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, I should say. But you also have some pretty fun gun combat. There's 4 guns, each of which has a secondary, mega weapon mode, which is devastatingly powerful. You're going to be fighting waves and waves of baddies, some of which you can shoot at range with any of your weapons, some of which get up close and personal. And the game starts doing this weird thing where you're fighting modern-day troopers and you're getting pockets of, feudal Japan, where you're fighting, medieval warriors with swords and shields and spears and stuff. And it's like, what is going on here? I like that. It was cool because it mixed up the combat. You couldn't just rely on one thing. And there's a very rudimentary upgrade system in the game as you collect these essences that allow you to upgrade to do more damage or to unlock additional moves. And I blew through those very quickly. That's why I was, I want there to be more. Because once you finally get the arsenal of the abilities, the throwing an enemy in the air and slashing them hundreds of times with your sword, like out of something from Bulletstorm, or when you're able to run and slam your sword down and it does an energy wave, and then quickly switch to a shotgun, and then quickly switch to a sniper rifle and take an enemy out at range. You feel like a badass. I mean, there's really no other way around that. It's a very, very satisfying combat loop. The best part of the game, though, by far, is the boss fights. And there's a couple really intense boss fights that really test your ability to move and counter and attack and to engage multiple targets, because they're going to be spawning ads like crazy. doing all these things while fighting and burning down a boss that has unique move sets and unique movements as well. It was really a lot of fun, particularly the last boss. The game just really threw all the stops out. Multiple phases, different engagements, different enemies you had to fight, picking up ammo while you're fighting, dodging and swinging your sword and just going nuts. And it was very satisfying. I really enjoyed it. And then it ends. And it's like, oh, I want more of this. I don't know if this game... I don't know if the scope got away from it or what. It's pretty. It is really one of the most gorgeous games I think I've seen on console. It looks and runs so incredibly smooth, minus the weird bugs. Sometimes the game will stutter when you're reloading. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Sometimes enemies will pop out of nowhere, or as I mentioned before, they use terrain as a suggestion. But man, oh man, this game is gorgeous. And it's beautiful to see in fluidity when you're running, and it gives me a lot of those Dying Light 2 vibes that I was talking about earlier in the week, where when you're running at full speed and you're kind of doing, I don't want to say parkour in this game because there's not parkour. It's very light platforming, a little bit of wall running, a little bit of climbing, a little bit of throwaway stealth mission at one point, which is really dumb. But when you're running through enemies quickly, dispatching them in a variety of ways with all the weapons, with all of the attacks, and having a lot of fun, the game really picks up a lot of momentum, and it really does feel exciting and engaging. And it's in that fluidity of combat when I feel like it shines the most. But you get these nonsensical cutscenes. You're constantly talking to some other guy who is basically hand-holding you through the entire mission. And then some little crystal thing breaks and the game ends. And it's like, wait, what? And that's it. If there's more to the story that I didn't understand, please feel free to enlighten me in the comments below. So the question is, looking at the Metacritic score, which sits unfortunately kind of low at 55 out of 100, probably because of the short runtime and a lot of the bugs. The question is, should you play this game? And I'm going to say yes. I think you should. I don't know what the asking price is for this game. This is a good $10 game. You're going to get to play through the story. If you get sucked into the combat like I did, you're probably going to want to play it again. There are multiple difficulties. There are other cosmetics that are available in the game. I guess if you're an achievement hunter, this is probably a pretty easy one to go out and get everything. But it just has an aesthetic and a feel to it that I honestly can't say I've seen in other games. And with just some minor edits to some of the weird performance in this game, and with some minor edits to a horde mode or to additional boss fight modes where you're in a giant arena and it's just basically survive. I think this game could hold its own against bigger AAA titles. It's got that fun variance in combat between up close and personal and ranged. It's got a good feel to it. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with the low Metacritic score. I mean, if I paid like $30 for this game or $20 for this game, yeah, I think at that point you might say, you know what? I think they're asking a little too much. But a $10 price point feels just right for a game like this. It's short, it's sweet, but sure is a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and my thoughts on this game. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know if you checked it out, what your thoughts are, and most importantly, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.